Hello and welcome to today's webinar. A little housekeeping before we begin. Everyone is muted during the webinar. All webinars will be recorded and sent out to all attendees after the webinar has concluded. Tomorrow, the recorded webinar will be sent to all participants. There will be a Q&A at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to ask questions during the webinar by clicking on the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Once the presentation concludes, I will ask the questions presented in the Q&A box. I may not get to everyone's questions, but we will do our best. With that being said, I would like to introduce you to Ruben Franco, President and CEO of the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Edna, and thank you everybody for being on today's call. We're very excited to bring to you how to do business with Southern California Edison. Before we get started with that, let me just introduce Mr. Michael Farage and Mr. Raul Medrano. They are consultants who are experts in the field of certification and doing business with public utilities, the government, corporations, and all that. So if you need any one-on-one consulting, you can reach out to them and we'll have their contact information up on the screen as well. The Orange County Hispanic Chamber will be celebrating its 35th anniversary next year. And we've been around just trying to help businesses get started, get funded, and grow. And so we're very fortunate to be part of the Small Business Development Center, where our funding comes from the SBA, comes from the governor's office, also comes from generous partners like Southern California Edison. So it's my distinct honor right now to introduce to you from Southern California Edison, one of our great partners, corporate partners that we have as a chamber, Ms. Gloria Burton, who's with Supplier Diversity. She's a program manager, and she will be giving the presentation. Thank you, Gloria. Thanks for being here and doing this.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you. So first, I'd like to thank you, Ruben, and the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce organization, just for the opportunity to present today and share information on how to do business with Southern California. So first and foremost, I'd like to say good morning to everyone. Again, I am Gloria Burton, Project Manager, Supplier Diversity and Development at SCE. First and foremost, I would like to just express my thoughts are with the individuals and families who have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm responsible for managing all aspects of SCE's compliance with applicable rules, regulations, and public laws related to small and diverse business procurements. This includes managing strategies, programs, and goals that facilitate the ongoing inclusion and growth of small and diverse business enterprises. This includes participating in conferences, and we know that the new normal during this pandemic is changing to virtual opposed to in-person that we've done. To connect with diverse-owned companies who are looking to do business with SCE, leading capacity building or technical assistance workshops for suppliers, and participating in sourcing opportunities along with my colleagues in supply management. And first, I want to just say thank you to all the key personnel, those who are on the front lines and whose services are essential. Please continue to practice physical distancing and mask up. When necessary, these are challenging times for many, and we have to take this seriously and just take time to cope and take care of ourselves. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the slide. If we can go to the next slide. Great. So the agenda, I'll talk a little bit about SCE, just very high level, some of the industry change drivers, talk a little bit about supplier diversity and inclusion, share with you some of the things that we buy at SCE, and I'm going to share some suggested next steps with regards to getting certified, registering on our Ariba platform, and how you can send your capability statement to SCE, and then we'll move forward with questions. So on the first slide, just tell you a little bit about SCE. So I just kind of want to share with you, I'm not going to read word for word on the slides, but I want to share with you some things that SCE has done during this COVID-19 emergency. So SCE has suspended service disconnections for non-payment and are waiving late fees for residential and also our business customers, those who are impacted by the COVID-19 emergency. Edison donated to community-based organizations in our service territory in support of economic hardships. We donated 1.2 million to local nonprofits whose focus is on providing critical services, food and necessities to vulnerable communities. This also included fundraising from employees with a company match that brought in about $400,000. We also donated PPE during the critical time for critical frontline workers. Don't know if you recall, there was a time when we were lacking a lot of PPE that was needed, specifically in the hospitals, and Edison donated PPE for that effort. And I wanted to share with you is our leaders continue to keep us updated on COVID-19 during company live streams, which is really, really helpful. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about some of the industry change drivers here. Many of you may realize in recent years, the industry, there's just been rapid transformation as it relates to the utilities. And I'm gonna speak specifically about Edison. Customer expectations, environmental legislation, and technology advances. So when you look at customer expectations, the first thing is affordable energy. That's one of the key components. And then when we look at our environmental requirements, we look at clean energy. So back in 2019, SCE released a white paper that touched upon the efforts on Clean Energy Pathway 2045. The white paper goes into details about what our plans is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and air pollutants to improve the air quality and ultimately the health of the public. And there are many opportunities for diverse suppliers to help us on this journey. When we look at the legislation regulation, the new normal are the wildfires, which is quite unfortunate. So we have the wildfire risk mitigation. Wildfires here in Southern California have become, again, the new normal. So we're working with our partners in the legislative space to make sure that we propose solutions and suggestions to do all that we can to help mitigate the risk of wildfires. We'll be investing heavily in this area, which opens the door for diverse suppliers in fields such as vegetation management and innovative technologies that can potentially help us identify fires early and take the necessary precautions to reduce the risk involved with them. And then when we look at the technology advances, drones. So we have been looking for suppliers that provide zones, providing that you meet the technical capabilities. Drones in hard to reach areas that pose a high risk of wildfires is really key for us to help mitigate, the wildfire issues. And another one thing that I just want to share with you is awareness of your bid score. I'm not sure if many of you are aware of BitSite, and this is where if you have any IT systems that will interfere with ours in any way, you want to have a really good BitSite score. Next slide. Few stats that I want to share with you here as it relates to diverse supplier inclusion. Just kind of want to share a little bit of stats with you. So again, it's critical, partnering with diverse suppliers is critical to our mission. I would like to share with you in 2019, we worked with over 650 diverse owned businesses. And this is across, it covers various ethnic categories, women, minority, the service disabled veteran, LGBT, and this is both tier 1 and tier 2. And so I wanted, because again, sharing with the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, I just wanted to share with you the DBE spend with Hispanic-owned businesses was at $715 million. We had some of our Hispanic suppliers that were the top 30 suppliers that we are doing business with, and that's really, really good news for us. And then in 2019, our overall spend was $2.2 billion, which equates to about 40.11% of procurement spend. And again, this was with diverse owned businesses. So currently, oh no, I'm sorry if you can go back a little, I'm sorry about that. So we have 3 components of supplier diversity that I want to share with you as well too. I'm going to slow down just a little bit here. So when we look at procurement opportunities, That's collaborative engagement with our SM partners on sourcing opportunities. Um, our supply management folks are consistently reaching out to us when there's a sourcing opportunity. And what we do is we rely on the relationships that we have with our chambers. We reach out to them. That's why it's really important to keep your information updated. So when we're looking for diverse supplies for a sourcing event, we reach out to our advocacy partners to say, hey, we have this opportunity here. These are some of the minimum requirements. And do you have any DB suppliers that may qualify to participate in some of these sourcing events? Um, when we look at technical assistance and capacity building, many of you may be aware of our EDGE workshops. Well, let me share with you. We're currently looking into our EDGE program. Overall, it's actually undergoing a strategic refresh to identify areas of opportunity for realignment and an updated approach to supplier development. We're being open to new methods for training and development. And I'm hoping that many of you have had an opportunity to attend an EDGE workshop that has been hosted by the Orange County Hispanic Chamber or any other of our advocacy partners. So, and then we also have a number of scholarships that we often will give out as well too. When you look at unconventional opportunities, again, those are networking opportunities. And that's why we want to encourage you to stay engaged with your supplier diversity representative. Stay engaged with your SCE partners organizations, again, such as Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And then take an opportunity to review our annual report, our annual supplier diversity report. There's a lot of good information that shares our efforts, our past performance, and challenges that we here at SCE face, that we face. This information is available on the CPUC website, and it's visible to anyone that looks for it. Next slide. Thank you. So here, I just want to share with you, I want you to learn kind of some of the things that we buy at SCE. Many suppliers will have to adopt a different way of thinking to be competitive for contracts, provide leadership in their own industries, and partner with SCE to propose creative solutions. And what we're looking for is we want you to tell us, small diverse suppliers, something we don't know. The advantage of innovation, key practical benefits. It brings about improved productivity, better solutions, reduced cost, and it also increases competitiveness. So there's a lot that our small diverse suppliers can bring to the table. And as you look at the slide, it's sort of segmented into sort of our direct services, like environmental services, vehicle, power production services, and then we also have the material side as well too, transformers, apparatuses, chemicals, B materials, and then you also have the indirect services, and that's where our IT falls under that component, human resources, ethics, law falls under that area. Next slide. So I want to share with you kind of some suggested next steps. First and foremost, you want to be able to determine your role. Are you prepared to be a prime contractor, which would be considered tier 1 spends? Or would you like to be a subcontractor to a prime supplier, which would be considered tier 2 spend? That's really, really key in terms of, opportunities that are out there. And so there are times when we can help facilitate introductions to prime suppliers, but always do your homework. That's really, really key, is understand who are some of the key prime contractors that Edison works with. Now, getting certified, and again, as you determine, maintain good safety record. Again, I spoke about BidSite score, that's the cybersecurity score. Keep your financials and insurance requirements on top. And then ISNet World is really, really key for those that are going to be providing tier 1 services. ISN NetWorld is an online contractor management platform that reviews the health, safety, environmental, and quality programs. And it also captures sort of incidents and injuries that may occur. Um, when we talk about tier one suppliers, that falls under the category of hazardous work, work involving operation of heavy equipment, confined space operations, electrical systems, just to name a few to kind of give you a sense because when we hear the word tier one, we may say, are you referring to tier one spend, but not necessarily. When it comes from a safety perspective, that's typically work that we consider to be very critical. So getting certified, these are the three certifying agencies that we accept: the Supplier Clearinghouse, the SBA 8A, and the Department of General Services, DGS. And again, this is for disabled, veteran-owned businesses. Make sure that if you're currently certified, keep your profile updated information. Make sure that it's updated frequently. If your certification is going to expire, make sure that you renew in a timely manner, because you never know when a sourcing event may become available. And if you already registered, and then our REBA system, and as I noted here, it's required in order to receive RFP or RFQs from SP, you must register in our REBA platform. And this is just a registration. There's maybe 5 or 6 key questions that you have to answer in addition to uploading your capability statement. And what happened with the REBA, what we really like is the fact that it allows you to be able to go in and make updates as necessary to your own profile. So you have the ability to manage it and keep it updated. Now, if you're already registered with another company in REBA, you must still register in our platform so that your information is visible to SCE. So lastly, connect with supplier diversity and share your capabilities. This is really important because although I'm presenting this presentation right now, I have other colleagues in supplier diversity that may manage services that your companies provide. So I strongly encourage that if you want to connect with us, send an email to the supplier diversity development at sce.com. And just kind of brief note, just kind of introducing yourself and share your capabilities. We have someone that manages this inbox for us. And what they do is then they actually forward it to the appropriate supplier diversity representative that manages the services or goods that you provide. And so just kind of share a little nugget with you. I oversee legal, corp comm, and ethics. So let's say you provide something that falls within T&D. And if you send an email to this, the Supplier Diversity Development at SCE, it automatically would get routed to my colleague that supports the T&D space. We have someone that supports the IT space, someone that supports the customer service. So we want to make sure, and if I can share with you, we are actually tracking this information as it comes in. So which is really, really good for us as well too. Next slide. So when excellence is the floor, it's not the ceiling. I want to just kind of share this with you. When we look at just the transformational changes that our industries are undergoing, there's a lot of new innovation that's out there that you guys, small diverse suppliers, can bring to the table and share with us at SCE. You can go ahead and we look to innovative ideas. And then professional networks is really, really key. And I want to share with you the excellence baseline. So what we're looking for when we're looking for small diverse suppliers, we're looking for those that have competitive pricing. Oftentimes, you may have your pricing may be considered high, but if it's competitive and the quality in goods and quality services is great, and your technical certifications and you have a great track record, those are some of the baseline items that we really focus on when our supply management are scoring the RFP bids when they come in. So just be mindful of that. Again, I just want to, it was really my pleasure again to share this information with you. We appreciate our partnership with the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. You guys have done great things. You've been out there in the front line in support of small, diverse suppliers, during this pandemic, and we really just appreciate the relationship that we have had with you guys. Again, I want to just reiterate to continue to remain safe. Next slide. Again, thank you for expressing your interest in working with SCE. This is my contact information. And again, as I indicated, I support legal, corp comm, and ethics. But if you're unsure on the previous slide, please make sure that you should share your capability statement with the supplier diversity, the overall supplier diversity email, so that it can get routed to the right person. Questions? Do we have any questions?
Gloria, we do. And Michael, you wanna ask Gloria the questions we have in the queue?
Yes. Hi, Gloria again.
Hi.
So one of the questions that appeared had to do with finding where the diversity goals are located. There was a participant that wanted to specifically know about woman-owned goals being achieved by SCE. I think you brushed over it, but maybe we want to address it again.
Oh, of course. Thank you. Very good question. Thank you for the question. So on our website, if you go into the California Public Utilities Commission website, our annual supplier diversity report is there, and it'll give you all the stats as it relates to the various ethnic categories, how much spend we've had with each of them. And it's cpuc.gov, I believe is the website, and that's where you can locate that information, and it'll give you all of that detailed information that you may be looking for, just to kind of understand again the amount of spend that we have with the various ethnic categories.
Perfect. We had another question. Does SCE go through their procurement process to contract employee training on leadership communications, customer service, and things of that nature?
Okay. Do we go through our supply management for that? Is that like opportunities? Are there, can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. It says, does SCE go through their procurement process to contract employee training on leadership, communications, customer service, and things of that nature?
So great point, and I'm hoping that I do address the question appropriately. So we do have our EDGE program where we offer a series of workshops through our advocacy partners, and though there's various courses that are offered, but right now, I mean, for next year, we're looking to refresh that EDGE program, because what's happening is we want to be able to move with the times, because there's a lot of changes that are occurring when we look at transportation electrification, grid mod. So what we want to do is we want to be able to offer EDGE workshops and training to our small diverse suppliers that are relevant now in this timeline, in this time frame.
Perfect. Do you purchase any non-IT staffing services? So
that's a non-IT staffing. Yes, absolutely. That's staff aug services. So we do are contracting with the Act One. They are the MSP, the managed services provider at SCE. But what they do is they also subcontract out to other staff aug firms. That information is managed by my colleague, Michael Herrera. Michael oversees that area. So if you send an email to our general supplier diversity email, it will certainly get routed to Michael, and he can provide more information as to what we're looking for or when they're going to be going out to rebid. But yes, Act One is our MSP, but they do subcontract to, there's a list of staff aug firms that are non-IT related.
Okay, perfect. There was an attendee that wanted to address the drones, and what division would they need to contact to be in that area?
Oh, very good question. So I would say reach out again to our supplier diversity because typically when opportunities become available, they come from our from our supply chain folks. But if they have information, they can again address the email, send their information to the supplier diversity. We'll make sure it gets routed. And then if they will help facilitate the meeting with supply management and or perhaps the organizational unit. So not just supply management, but the department that's actually looking for it. And I want to say maybe with our vegetation management space, which is really, really key for us right now, because we're trying to help mitigate a lot of the wildfires. And then with the drones, it helps to identify, areas when we know if there's a spark or, but yes,
Okay.
very
Um,
good question. And I
you
know,
know, there's
and I'm sorry to interrupt, and I know there are some technical requirements, and again, those technical requirements would come from our organizational unit and or supply management to share what those technical requirements are for the drones.
here's a good question. Does SE consider companies all over California?
Well, that's a really, really good question. Yes. And I say that because you have consulting service companies, right? But the one thing is you have to make sure that you are certified to the clearinghouse and meet those requirements. But yes, we do business with suppliers that are maybe out of state, but there are requirements in terms of maybe having a business here in California, and that's per the supplier clearinghouse, right? And a lot of that information you would find within their website, but I'd be more than happy to get additional information for them as it relates to that question, but that's a really, really good question.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, there's a lot of questions in regards to professional services companies, and so some of them had a little more detail than others. But to give an overall view, what are the procedures? So you had mentioned to go through the clearinghouse and get certified, and then contact the small business liaison for opportunities, or how would we go about searching that?
So when I say getting certified, to do business with Edison, you don't, and I want to clarify this, because a lot of folks feel like, well, if I'm not certified, I can't do business with Edison. That is not true. You can do business with Edison, but it's in your best interest, and we highly encourage, we can't force it, but we highly encourage. If you are a small diverse supplier, get registered. I mean, because it opens up the doors not only for SCE, but other utility companies. And one thing that we do also, and I'm going to go back to the answering the question is, we do reach out to our sister utility companies. Sometimes for sourcing events, we may say, hey, we're looking for suppliers in this area. Do you know of any? And if you are certified and registered to Ariba, those are two hurdles that you have achieved, right? Which is really, really, really good. But so in terms of professional services, we do want to make sure that you have a capability statement. Again, and share innovative ideas that you may, and depending on the type of professional services that you provide, right? Because there's a wide array of professional services, but we do encourage you to get certified. But again, reaching out to our supplier diversity um, email or me directly. I don't mind if you reach out to me directly if you want to call me or send me an email, and I can always walk you through the process and just share with you what you need, what the next steps will be, because it varies, right? Because what happens sometimes is our supply management folks will go through our Reba platform, and they may do a search for professional services and look for DBEs, and then find those that may have those qualifications that they may be looking for. So that's why we highly encourage registering in Ariba, and then also getting certified, because then we're able to account for that DBE spend.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
We had a question that, can you elaborate on the tiers I think you had mentioned some tiers through the presentation.
Oh, most certainly, because this could be a little confusing. So when you hear tier 1 and tier 2 spend, that relates to doing business with so tier 1 spend equates with a DBE supplier. That's tier 1 spend, right? However, we can also be doing business with a non-DBE supplier that may subcontract a percentage of the work. And if they do that, that's considered tier 2 spend. That's as it relates to the spend. However, when I spoke about tier 1 work, that equates to work that's very dangerous. And that's where you have to make sure that you maintain a good safety record. So when I say tier one safety requirements, that goes back again to the hazardous work that I talked about, work that may fall under confined spaces, work above 6 feet. So that's kind of the distinction. So you can either refer to it as spend, which is totally separate, but then when I refer to tier 1 work, that's more specifically around the type of work for safety purposes. And I want to be clear on that. I want to make sure if I address that question appropriately.
I think you did, and you might have addressed another one that I'm going to bring up. So in regards to this spend, if you're not a diverse or a DBE supplier, then you would be categorized in tier 2. Is that how I understand it?
No, if you're a non-DBE, no. So tier 2 spend is when work is subcontracted out to a DBE, whether it's and I'm going to use, for example, myself. Let's say I am a prime supplier and I own ABC company and I'm a DBE. I can still subcontract to a diverse supplier, but that would be considered tier 2 spend because I'm subcontracting out. Again, same scenario. I'm ABC Construction Company, but I'm a non-DBE, but I'm going to subcontract work to a DBE supplier that is still considered tier 2 spend. So anytime work is being subcontracted out to a DBE, it's recorded and accounted as tier 2 spends. But if you have a DBE, and I'm going to use, for instance, Doty Brothers. Some of you that's one of our prime suppliers. They're prime, but they're also a DBE. So we account for their spend as tier 1 spend.
Gloria, you answered it, and thank you for the examples. That kind of wrapped up a lot of the questions. Somebody just popped up an answer and they said, what is DBE?
Oh, good question. Diversified Business Enterprise.
Perfect. And to all the attendees, if you do need certification help, it's no charge to you, and our contact information is up there. And Gloria, thank you for presenting this. It was a really great presentation.
Michael, thank you so much. And you brought up a really good point. So when you go on the Supplier Clearinghouse website, there's no charge for the certification. And I want to just share with you also with the audience, if you're currently certified through, let's say, certain organizations like the NGLCC, the NMSDC, and SCMSDC. I'm sorry, these are a lot of acronyms here. National Minority Service, you've got the Southern California Minority, golly, it was right at the tip of my tongue. But if you're certified,
Development Center.
The process is much more shorter when you're working with a supplier clearinghouse. But then it can be a bit longer if you're not certified through any of those, but that's okay. I just encourage you to go ahead and get certified, as quickly as possible. And I just want to So when I spoke of the NMSDC, that's the National Minority Supplier Development Council. Then there's also a Southern California Minority Supplier Development Council.
Perfect. Thank you, Gloria.
You are welcome.
I think that's all the questions we had.
Well,
Ruben,
thank
did
you. Yeah, thank you, Gloria, for the partnership and for the presentation today. We really appreciate everything that Southern California Edison does for the chamber, our SPDC, and the community at large. You guys are always there participating in what needs to get done, and just a great corporate partner. So we're very fortunate to have Southern California Edison as one of our partners. Thank you to Michael and to Raul. If anybody on the call does need to reach out, has questions on certifications or on anything, like Michael said, our services are no cost. We're fully funded for this, and we want to be a resource for you, whatever you may need getting through this pandemic. There is still some money available for PPP loans and EIDL loans too. So if you have questions on that as well, reach out to us. And then just keep your eyes out for our next one we'll be doing. We'll be trying to be doing every Wednesday at 11, and we will be sending that out soon as we get confirmation. But thank you, everybody, for being on the call. Please be safe and be healthy out there. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.